You won't believe what's being said about Pastor Lovy Elias. For years, he stood as a beacon of spiritual power, a prophetic voice with a following that stretched across continents. To many, he wasn't just a preacher, he was a man anointed by God, known for miraculous healings, eerily accurate prophecies, and sermons that stirred souls. But now, everything is being called into question. A storm is brewing, and it's not just whispers anymore. The internet is on fire with explosive accusations that threaten to shatter his entire legacy. Allegations so intense, so deeply unsettling, they've left even his most loyal followers stunned. Could the man hailed as a divine vessel actually be hiding secrets far darker than anyone imagined? Pastor Lovy Elias has long been revered as more than just a preacher. To many, he is a prophet, a healer, a man of divine purpose. But now, a dark cloud looms over his legacy. Explosive accusations have surfaced, and they don't just challenge his teachings, they question the very source of his power. Some claim his spiritual gifts are not divine at all, but born of something far more sinister. Whispers of sorcery, occult involvement, and black magic swirl through the internet, with voices accusing him of being a wizard cloaked in the robes of a pastor. They say the miracles he performs are not blessings from above, but the deceptive works of witchcraft. The fallout has been immediate and severe. Religious communities are in turmoil, torn between disbelief and outrage. How could a man who preached faith and righteousness be linked to such unholy practices? Is this a horrifying truth being uncovered, or a vicious attack meant to destroy a rising spiritual figure? For months, as the controversy grew louder, Pastor Lovy said nothing. His followers dismissed the claims as desperate lies fueled by jealousy and fear. But the silence only deepened the mystery, and now, the world is watching. While his critics grew louder, demanding answers, the rumors only intensified. Each new day brought fresh and more sensational claims, whispers of shadowy events during his services, eerie testimonies from former church members who spoke of unsettling experiences under his leadership. The pressure was unrelenting. Followers, skeptics, and onlookers alike waited breathlessly for Pastor Lovy Elias to respond. And finally, after a long and deafening silence, he spoke. But instead of silencing the controversy, his words ignited an even bigger fire. His response, rather than ending the debate, poured gasoline on the flames, raising more questions than it answered. What exactly did he say that has left the world even more shaken? Could there be truth buried within these accusations, or is this a masterclass in manipulation by those seeking to destroy him? The mystery surrounding Pastor Lovy Elias refuses to fade. What began as a quiet murmur has erupted into a full-blown firestorm, and now, the world watches with bated breath. One thing is certain, this saga is far from over. Pastor Lovy Elias was once seen as a spiritual force unlike any other, a prophet whose words carried the weight of destiny. His ministry was filled with astonishing miracles and pinpoint-accurate prophecies that stunned both everyday believers and elite circles alike. Celebrities, CEOs, and influential figures flocked to him, drawn by what appeared to be divine wisdom flowing through a humble vessel. To many, he was not just a preacher, he was a beacon of hope, a man touched by God, with a calling that transcended ordinary faith. But as his fame soared, so did the doubts. Whispers began to rise. How could one man predict world events with such uncanny precision? Was it truly a gift from above, or was there something more mysterious, perhaps even sinister, behind his supernatural abilities? The questions no longer came from skeptics alone, even some of his followers began to ask, where does his power really come from? How could Pastor Lovy Elias perform what looked like instant, miraculous healings? Why did his teachings often stray from traditional Christianity, offering bold, unconventional interpretations that left many questioning their faith? As his influence expanded, so did the skepticism. Whispers turned into murmurs of concern, and soon, those concerns erupted into something far more disturbing. Former members of his congregation began stepping forward, sharing chilling testimonies that challenged everything the public believed about him. They claimed that Pastor Lovy's power wasn't divine, it was something far darker. Allegations of witchcraft, sorcery, and hidden rituals began to surface, igniting a firestorm on social media. Accusations spread like wildfire, and what was once quiet speculation became a global controversy. Was the man once hailed as a prophet actually tapping into something unholy? The line between faith and fear began to blur, and the world demanded answers. If Pastor Lovy's so-called miracles weren't divine but rooted in something far more sinister, then everything his followers believed is now in question. The world has been left shaken, divided between those who still view him as a man of God and those who believe he may be hiding a much darker truth. These accusations are no longer just baseless internet rumors, there is tangible evidence that's elevating the controversy to terrifying new heights. We're talking about videos, first-hand testimonies, and deeply alarming claims that demand attention. One of the most chilling pieces of evidence comes from footage taken during his own services, where Pastor Lovy is seen making strange, cryptic hand gestures, movements that have no clear connection to any known Christian tradition. These gestures, subtle yet unsettling, have raised red flags for many, suggesting something more than mere spiritual expression. Even more disturbing is the unnerving precision of his so-called prophetic insights, knowledge so specific and uncanny, it's left even longtime believers questioning its true origin. Is this divine revelation, or something far darker operating behind the scenes? Eyewitnesses to Pastor Lovy's prophecies began to raise unsettling questions, not because he failed, but because he was too accurate. Many described his revelations as eerily similar to psychic readings rather than divine messages, revealing personal, intimate details that no ordinary person could possibly know. As whispers turned into confessions, the most shocking moment arrived. Former church members started speaking out. In a now viral video, an ex-member claimed they were taught to tap into hidden powers under Pastor Lovy's guidance, and this had nothing to do with traditional prayer. This wasn't spiritual awakening, it was something far darker, cloaked in mystery. Then came an even more disturbing allegation, that long before his rise as a spiritual leader, Pastor Lovy had been involved in secret rituals with strong ties to occult practices. These revelations detonated across the internet, sparking outrage, fear, and a wave of comparisons to African mystics, shamans, and even leaders of clandestine societies. The line between prophet and something else entirely had blurred, and now, millions are questioning whether Pastor Lovy Elias is a true man of God, or the orchestrator of something far more dangerous. What started as simple doubt about a preacher's intentions had now spiraled into something far more explosive, a full-scale investigation into the very core of Pastor Lovy Elias's power and influence. This was no longer just a controversy, it was a spiritual crisis. As more unsettling testimonies and strange evidence emerged, a haunting question echoed across churches and online platforms alike: was Pastor Lovy truly an anointed man of God, or a figure operating from a much darker, hidden realm? The division grew deeper by the day. For some, he remained a beacon of divine wisdom; for others, he had become a symbol of deception cloaked in religious authority. The line between faith and fear began to blur, and the once unified religious community now stood fractured, torn between awe and suspicion. With every new revelation, the debate intensified, and the world was left wondering, had millions been misled by a man they believed to be holy? Pastor Lovy Elias finally broke his silence, and while he did, it wasn't in the manner all of us predicted. After months of preserving quiet, his reaction to the developing controversy surrounding his alleged ties to witchcraft and wizardry took a dramatic turn. In place of providing a truthful denial or clarification, he chose to present a greater cryptic and deflective stance that has handiest deepened the thriller. In his response, Pastor Lovy stated, "God's electricity doesn't appear like what people anticipate." These words had been interesting, leaving many to surprise if he became sug, checking out that the miracles he performs are truly misunderstood by using those who do not have spiritual perception. He followed this by announcing humans worry what they do not recognize. Those statements seem to set the tone for his protection and appeal to the concept that the supernatural occurrences surrounding him had been just misinterpreted with the aid of a skeptical target audience. But here's in which it gets shocking: he failed to cope with the accusations hidden. Alternatively, he shifted the focal point onto his critics, stating just because something is supernatural does not mean it is demonic. With this ambitious assertion, Pastor Lovy driven lower back towards the concept that his miracles have been connected to darkish forces, However, he failed to immediately deny the allegations of witchcraft as a substitute. He defended his actions by means of saying his miracles are actual and from God and made a pointed comment. Approximately the character of his critics suggesting that the folks that referred to as him a wizard have been influenced by jealousy of his impact. Pastor Lovy additionally took a more private approach, arguing that those attacking him have been the usage of his African historical past as a weapon against him, implying that racism or cultural false impression performed a function in the accusations. He said that those assaults have been rooted so that it will discredit him and his ministry. Due to his background, that is where it gets interesting. Some people trust Pastor Lovy's reaction become a clever manner to keep away from the real questions, deflecting attention from the core of the controversy. Others argue that his answer changed into strategic, an attempt to show the tide of public opinion by framing himself as a misunderstood figure in a spiritual war as opposed to addressing the middle accusations without delay. He portrayed himself as a sufferer of cultural bias, leaving extra questions than answers. This dramatic shift in how Pastor Lovy addressed the scandal has left the church and his fans divided. Some see his protection as a revelation of his proper person, even as others view it as a calculated flow to stay away from the extreme questions raised about his supernatural powers. What's clear is that the debate surrounding him is far from over, and his reaction has only added fuel to the hearth, maintaining all people on side. Approximately what's coming next. The controversy surrounding Pastor Lovy Elias has taken a surprising flip, and now with so many unanswered questions, all people is on facet. The query all of us is looking is what occurs next. The story isn't over by using a protracted shot. As the backlash intensifies, increasingly humans are speculating whether extra former participants of Pastor Lovy's congregation will come ahead with even extra damning accusations. With each new day, whispers develop louder, and the opportunity of more secrets being exposed seems increasingly more. Possibly the public is looking intently, and lots of are thinking, will Pastor Lovy Elias be able to silence the developing refrain of complaint, or will the floodgates open, revealing even darker truths? Approximately his ministry on the coronary heart of this scandal is one critical query. Will Pastor Ly in the end address the accusations immediately after his cryptic response? Many are left questioning if ever his belief that his powers come from God, or will the pressure him to exchange his narrative. The talk has escalated to some extent where a few are now calling for him to step down from his ministry completely as people keep to invite difficult questions and assignment his legitimacy. Will Pastor Lovy be able to maintain manipulative his congregation and ministry, or will this scandal force him to take a step back from the public eye? One component is positive: the truth always comes out. Ultimately, the longer this performs out, the more information are sure to emerge. People will be watching intently, looking ahead to greater revelations to surface, and for Pastor Lovy to both clean his call or permit the storm of accusations sweep him away. So what do you think? Is Pastor Lovy Elias truly a man of God, or is there something tons extra sinister at play behind his ministry? The approaching days may want to keep the solutions, but one factor is apparent: this story is some distance from over, and the fact continues to be unfolding. Stay tuned. Due to the fact the following bankruptcy in this saga may be even extra shocking than what we've seen to this point.